It does look like we're on YouTube Live, so we're being broadcast.
Okay, so I just reminded David, I just spoke to him like 3 minutes ago, but that we need him on this call now for a quorum.
Right.
So we'll just give him a minute or two longer if we can. And Johnny, you're going to have to help me as far as I'm assuming we sort of call the meeting to order, and you said we got to do a roll call vote.
Yes, that's right. That's what's listed in the ordinance.
Okay. David just said, Scott, maybe you can help with this, that he's getting a message saying, please wait, the meeting host will let him know soon.
Right.
He just showed up on screen as connecting his audio, so I think David's here.
Okay.
He needs to unmute, but he's here.
So,
Okay.
Emily. Okay, once he shows up, we have a quorum.
Okay, he showed up on my screen.
David, can you hear us?
His
But he
mic
shows-
is off.
He
I just
shows
told him
up
to unmute.
as muted, so he has to
Yeah,
unmute his mic.
I just tried to tell him to unmute, but
Yeah.
you know how it is. Old
Oh,
guys
I
here,
do.
David and I aren't the most technical.
Hey, we've all had to step our game up in this new reality.
That's true. We have.
And I'm really proud. Many people have. I'm very impressed with folks, to be honest. I mean, it's really been great.
Yeah. No, I think
Making it work.
people are really working well across the board. Everyone you talk to is managing, and it's good to see the country that way.
David's
Well, how's everyone doing today? First off, what's still David? Did I hear you? No.
Hello?
Hi, David.
Yes, David,
There he is.
hello.
Can you see me?
No, but we can
No.
hear you.
I don't know why you can't see me.
We just see a David Lydiard.
Hang on. Do I tap start video?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you like to allow the camera? I'm in my pajamas. I hope nobody minds.
No, that's okay.
There you go. There you are.
Okay.
Howdy.
Okay. Hey, David. But okay, so we have we've got David, Emily, no Barbara, no Tanya. We've got Chris. Daisy's not on, is she? No Daisy yet. And we've got Janet. So that gives us a quorum. So we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Okay. First thing I need to do is ask that we approve today's agenda. Do we need to have a motion, John, or can I just vote?
No, you just do the roll call vote.
Okay. So I'm voting aye. David?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Janet?
Yes.
Okay. And then we're going to move from there into the consent agenda and ask that we do the same. I'm voting aye. David? Approving
Aye.
the consent agenda. Thank you. Emily?
Aye.
And Chris?
Aye.
And Janet?
Aye.
Okay. So those are approved. We're going to jump right in. We have no public comments, I assume, even though we're streaming, as Scott pointed out, the first televised or whatever meeting of the RPL Foundation here. No public comments. We'll jump right into Ruth's or Clay's. We've got one of them here, don't we?
Ruth is here.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what
I'm
I thought.
here.
Okay. So there you are, Ruth. Okay. I
Can
don't
you
have
hear me?
everybody showing without paging across. So
Yes.
you want to just run through the Library Friends report real quickly? I know it's
Oh.
been tough to do much with everything.
Yeah, can you all hear me okay?
Nicely.
Very.
All right. Thank you for letting me sit in on your meeting, and I will sit in on as long as I can, but I do have to leave before 1. I'm not sure how long business will take. The Friends of the Library, we have finished our financial year, which finished at the end of March. So we begin in the 1st of April. And as you know, we would have a big book sale on the first weekend of April, but of course that was canceled. We will postpone it until further notice and when we can hold it again. The books are all there. We are very, very thankful that we have space in the library that we can, you know, have everything just set and waiting for when it can happen next. With the, let me just grab some of my notes here. With the end of our financial year in March, we did approve our next year's budget, and we also decided that we would balance out our income to outlay for this past year, which means that we have an additional $2,700 to give to the library this year for 2019, 2020 span of time. And so the programs, we have allotted just over $24,000, and with other gifts and to the library that we've already made, and for the graphics copier that gives an outlay of just over $35,000 that we've been able to give to the library this year.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. We have enjoyed doing that, and we are looking forward to being able to get back into the library again sometime and doing a book sale. We are glad to report, though, barring that, we do have savings that we are able to cover about a year's worth of expenses, including the request from the library for this upcoming year. So we are in good stead to do that, though we hope we don't have to draw down our savings too much. We do hope that we can have a book sale because it is our biggest fundraiser, though we've had some really wonderful gifts from our members this past year, covering more than just a membership. And we've really appreciated that. And we, depending on what happens, we will need to ask for some more. But we can continue on that line as we go along.
Sounds good.
Any questions?
No. Okay. Let's jump into Karin, the foundation.
Hi, everyone. It's lovely to see you.
Good to see you.
We can see you beautifully there.
Okay, so the foundation is pretty much working as usual. I've moved into a home office, which I already had set up. And, you know, I work now with pets in tow, which is kind of therapeutic. So that's okay. Our year, unlike the Friends, our year does go till the end of June. So we've got a few more months left. I will say that donations have certainly slowed, but a few of them have been coming in. I would say the biggest change is that our grant seeking has kind of come to a screeching halt.
Right.
I've spoke to many of our partners in our regional foundations and other nonprofits, and many of the folks that normally make gifts to us or that I was planning to ask, they are holding right now and not allowing grant requests to come in. Funds are being held for emergency purposes. And I've been asked to check back with everybody early to mid-May. So I'm hoping that things start to improve a little bit, and maybe in May we can still put in a few grant requests for money that would come in the fall towards the holiday season. The foundation's trying hard to follow the library's lead, and we have just recently given some money for the effort that Lisa Crispman at West End is spearheading, I think, to give out children's books, new books to children at the Richmond Public Schools food distribution sites. So last week was the first week that they did that. Lisa and Beth gathered books that we already had at Maine. Again, these are brand new books, and they hauled them to one of the food distribution sites on Friday and gave them out to children who came with, or families that showed up for the school food distribution. The foundation loves that. We've made one gift already, and we're going to see how this project goes. We hope that we can continue to expand it, and throughout the summer have the library giving out books to the neediest families coming to those food distribution sites. The other thing that we're hoping to do is also, again, support the library and follow their lead on all of the amazing increase in online programming and online materials. We know that the city's budget has been decreasing, and depending on how long this goes, certainly could decrease again. The foundation stands ready to fill in budget gaps as needed. We have already let Scott know that I've been given approval to make a nice gift whenever necessary for online materials or other things that are needed. So we just wait to hear from all of you and from Scott as to how things move over the next couple of months. Hopefully we'll all be back together soon in person, but it's so hard to know. So the foundation, just like Ruth was saying, we also have cash in reserves, and certainly we'll make that available to the library if it's needed. So
It's great. And we'll get to discussing some of that when Scott talks about budget in a bit here.
Okay.
Any questions? Carmen, is that it? I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that is it, unless you have questions for me.
Any
You
questions?
can all reach me at any time via email.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Any questions for Karin? No. I'm going to real quickly, and I may get my hand slapped by Gianna for doing this, but Daisy has just joined us. I'm going to ask Daisy if we can get her vote on the consent. First off, approving the agenda today. Daisy, you okay with that?
Yes, I'm fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I've been on the entire time. You all couldn't hear me, so
We can
yeah.
hear you.
I'm
Okay.
here.
So are you
Yeah,
okay on-
my audio is my phone, so I can hear you.
Okay, so you are good on the agenda and the consent agenda both?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just and those in there for the vote here. Okay, let's move on. Scott, I know you got a lot on you here, so let's just jump right in there.
About the last 3 minutes, so I just got back on. I had to get another computer. Karin gave her report.
She did. Karin did a great job, and Karin did promise the foundation may be able to help some, but I'm hoping we can make the budget work without dipping too deeply into them. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, as we get into budget. And Daisy is on with us, and we've recorded her vote, so go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if Karin mentioned the effort that they approved the application to provide books for the lunch program.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for the school feeding lunch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Food
So-
distribution sites, yep.
Right, let me grab some of my notes here. So it's been a while since we've talked. We had to cancel the February meeting, and since about March 17th, we've been in a closed environment. Our response has been, I mean, as I provided in the board report, we are providing content through the website. Staff are staying at home and working from home, pushing that content out, and also doing training that we can't do when we're normally open. That has been ongoing. So, so daily, one of the ways that we stay in touch is I have a video conference call with my leadership team every morning at 9:30. And in that meeting, we review where we're at in learning and content for the website and the programs that we're pushing out through the website. You'll notice in your board package, there's a long list of things that we've expanded or expanded since we've shut down. We've also, one of the other focuses of our calls daily is what's it going to look like when we return. One of the things that it's not easy getting into this. I don't think it's going to be easy getting out of this. And we have to be very safe as we go forward. It sounds like there's a protest going by outside because I think there's a protest at the Capitol. So if you hear cars honking, that's what's going on.
oh.
they're protesting the stay-at-home order. So some of the things that we've accomplished is we've added a lot of electronic resources. Each week, we have staff doing training on customer service, how the library works, digital literacy, and in the near future, we're going to be doing more training on CERC. We have one of the things that has enabled us to do that is we're using a tool called Slack. It's something that we've had in place for a long time, but Slack is something that we have a account with, and so all of the staff are involved in Slack, and we can direct message that way. We can set up channels on certain topics to work on different issues that we're doing. And it's just a way for us to communicate during this time, because some of our other tools of communication aren't working. Not all staff have access to email remotely. The city's email server, it is not possible for us to provide that. So Slack has been the tool that we've been using. And I mean, we're using Zoom. So you've got a good example of that. I will mention, and you kind of can see this in the statistics, and we highlighted it in the board report, that we had over 800 new users sign up for electronic library cards. So that is an indicator that what we're doing is being received by our users and being welcomed by our users. One of our focuses is that we have a lot of people who are schooling at home now, and they need our support. So RPS is pointing to us for their electronic resources, for reading materials for their students, and we're just trying to connect every way you can through the website.
Right.
So let's see. This week we started moving CERC into the cloud. So yesterday we shut down the server that's been hosted at the for the city, and we have started moving all of those processes of the ILS into the software as a service. By the end of this week, it should be complete.
Wow.
So that is a huge step. That's only been something we've been working on for many years. And so these are all of the different things that we've been doing while the library is closed and staff can't be in the buildings and serving our patrons as we traditionally have. So
that's a bit of a silver lining then to this, is that
right,
if it screws up, no clients will be none of our.
Well, clients are noticing, right? Our
spot.
patrons are noticing right now because they can't connect to the database. So a lot of the databases they're connecting to are offline, but a lot of the vendors are waiving the authentication through our website so that people can access the electronic stuff. But by Friday, we're hoping to be through this and everybody should be reconnected.
Okay.
Right.
And we'll be on a new server away from the city's servers and being able to maintain it there. So.
Very good. That sounds like that's actually gone pretty smoothly.
So far.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I really have to applaud staff in the work that they've done. Many of our managers have all stepped up to the plate to help us get through this crisis. They went to the branches, they got things kind of cleaned up and put away until we can come back online. So I'm very proud of the work that they've done, and I'm proud of all the stuff that we're able to do during this time.
Okay.
So.
Okay. As for the chairman's, Scott, that pretty much finishes what you wanted to talk about as the report. I know we're getting to some other stuff. Is that right, or do you want to go into more now?
That's in my report. I've really given you kind of a status report of where we're at and where we're going. The latest thing to hit has been the budget, and that just really started to roll out since last Friday. There'd been a lot of talk about what they were going to do, how they were going to respond to the decrease in revenues.
Yeah.
And so that got released on Friday afternoon. I made a response to it. I've included that information to some of you.
I was going to say, do we want to jump right in from the chairman's perspective? Let me just real quickly say that I don't have a lot to cover new. Things have been quiet, and I think Scott has been doing, and his team has just been doing a phenomenal job of keeping everything running well, given the circumstances that we're dealing with. That's right, Chris. Everything dealing with given the circumstances, really making good use of the staff. And I think that we're doing as well as you talk to other people at other libraries and things, and I think we're doing a real nice job on that. But the big thing that we're going to have to talk about is the budget. And Scott, do we want to jump into that? Have you circulated that? I know I've got a copy of it, and a few others may have seen it. But you're going to go through the initial change and then the second change here, and where we are today.
Right.
I think that's probably either that, or we can go into the finance report if Daisy wants to do that, and then we can tack this on at the back end of that.
Let me see if I can open that and share those documents
Share that?
with you. Yeah, let me see if I can get through that.
Okay. And Daisy, let me
Yeah,
ask.
Bill, let me say, I won't have a finance report. I think the focus needs to be on the budget information that Scott's going to give us.
Thank you. That's what I was sort of thinking too, Daisy. So, okay, Scott, let's see if we can pull up your bad news here and your suggestions and talk it through.
Would you like me to start with where the mayor's proposed budget is, or what the cuts are right now?
You mean the mayor's proposed budget overall for the city, or just what the mayor is saying, where we are?
Yeah, let me show you what
Let's run
got
through
released on March 6th.
Yeah, I'd go through the two, where we were and then where we are now.
Okay, so what can you see? Can you see this report from?
We could, and now I've got your screensaver. Or
Okay.
something.
Yeah, it went away.
It's
Everybody
a kid
lose
in a
video.
bubble.
Okay, let me see if I can move it back.
Yeah.
How did that do?
There you go.
We
We got
Okay, I
it.
can see
Oh,
it.
you can see it now. Okay, great.
Yes.
All right, so this is what the mayor released on March 7th, or March 6th.
Mhm.
If we go down here, you can, this is the fiscal summary. So this shows you pretty much the nuts and bolts of where we are with the budget. So in FY 20, which is where we're at now, the general fund was at $6,304,000.
Right.
On March 6th, he proposed we cut that to $6,076,000, and that was I'm sorry, and that was justified in that there is savings from the VRIP because we retired about 7 or 8. We retired about 8 people that were legacy employees in the retirement fund, and then they also took the position for our human resources liaison and moved it to what they're calling a central HR. So that position went away, and those savings from the retirements are what they are saying that number is made up of. So that's where we were at on March 6th.
Gotcha.
Currently, after the COVID crisis, so this on March 6th was about let me get my paperwork. This as it stands was a 3.5% cut.
We were, right. And that 3.5% wasn't necessitating any major changes as far as staffing, books, et cetera, at that point. We're okay.
So what they were doing was that they were taking some of our vacancies.
Right.
They were justifying it with the retirements and then also moving that position to HR. So that's where they got that number.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You'll notice under operating at 1,263,000.
Yep.
That's a little bit of an increase over 19.
Right.
So they
Right.
didn't get into books there. Most of our operations stayed
Good.
the same. However, that's still not what we were doing in 19. So that's where we're at. So operations were pretty much not touched, but we didn't get any of the positions we asked for. If you recall, we asked for adding librarians to all of our branches, for children's librarians to better improve our youth services.
Yep.
We needed to fund all the vacancies that we had, but they weren't funding all the vacancies at that time. And
Right.
so that's how we get to this 6 million number.
Gotcha.
So now after the COVID crisis, we've moved to, this was what was requested. Can you all see this? This is the new number.
Yes.
So
Yep.
this is their, you'll see the 6,076,000 here, and then they proposed us going down to 5,743,000.
Yeah.
So if you compare that from where we're at today, that's an 8.9% cut to our overall budget. The way they're getting there is they've eliminated the 2% salary increase. This 166 represents all of the vacancies we have right now. They're taking those away from us and they're freezing all of our hiring. And then on this one, they're getting into our books and materials. So we're taking about a 10% cut to our book budget, and then another small cut to our magazines, for a total of about 65,000 in cuts to our book budget. So books and serials budget. So that takes us to about, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So in the past, the way we've handled these reductions from the city's general operating funds are, we've had to roll back hours. So that's where the cuts are happening in our people. And so that's where we really don't have many choices but to start taking it out of there. And then I let them know that the cuts to the materials budget will mean longer waits for books, and more holds, less materials. When you cut your book budget, that is the hardest one to really come back from. These other cuts, so we've also cut conferences and training and membership dues. All of those things, those help us have a really strong workforce. So we're cutting all of the tools that we use to enrich our workforce. So
Right.
Well, the good thing we have, if there is anything good there, is that while the training's getting cut a little bit, you're getting to do lots of training and some of the back end things right now while the library's in this somewhat dormant stage.
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So it probably doesn't hurt us as much for this coming year on some of those. It's unfortunate not to be able to do conventions and things as much, but I think we're going to find that for the next 6 months or more, conventions are going to be an iffy thing regardless.
Yeah, we're looking at about a 12, everything I'm seeing is looking like it's about a 12 to 18 month recovery from this if we come out. Hopefully it'll be a V instead of a U in the economic recovery. I think things will come back faster. If y'all were, I mean, many of you were around in 2008, 2009 when we had that catastrophe. That took a long time to come out of.
Yeah.
But it seems like we'll come out of this a little bit quicker. The thing that's kind of that we all don't know is if we come out and then we have to go back in, like we have another round of this pandemic.
Right.
But you'll see that this proposed budget moves us back to about fiscal year 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
So we are rolling back the clock.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the personnel side of it, because I think that's the biggest. Obviously, there's nothing, we have no option on the 2%. I mean, they're doing that across the board as far as the raises. So it's unfortunate our employees are going to lose that, but I think everybody is saying that just, around the country right now, that 2% is a nice amount versus what the average is going to be this year for people. So what we get to though is that next one, Scott, where you say, we've lost those positions that were vacant, and that creates issues that you've got down in your points below, right?
Right.
You want to sort of walk us through where the real harm is on that and what you're thinking?
So like the positions that we added are all the positions that we used to expand. So we expanded our hours. We opened up on Sundays at the main library, and in the Ginter Park, we were able to maintain the hours on Sundays at Broad Rock. And so that's where the funding went. And we also were able to open all of our branches at 10 a.m. We used to have branches open at noon some days of the week. We had all of our branches, and this was in 2017, we were closing at 6 o'clock on Thursdays across the board. Those are the kind of things that I think that we're going to have to look at when we get the final numbers on this budget, if these cuts come through.
Okay.
How much flexibility do you have when you get a final number? If you decide you want to keep the book and magazine firm and cut on other areas, do you have the ability to do that, or do you have to adhere to the specific cuts per subline item?
I believe we can move funding around in our operating fund. They don't
Okay.
allow us to move funding around in our personnel line. So
Okay,
they don't
gotcha.
allow us, they call it JVing. They won't usually
Right,
allow us to
okay.
JV funds from operations to personnel. Now, the
Okay.
board could request that, and once they allocate the money, the board is the one who approves how this money gets spent. So
Okay,
So we can
Does
help
that
you
answer-
theoretically.
yep,
I'm sorry, David, what?
No, I said, so the board has the ability to help you with some of this theoretically, because like you
Right.
said, once the money's in, it's in. All right, that's great. It's reassuring.
Yeah. Scott, are we at the point where we need to do anything on this? I mean, you've responded to the finance folks in the mayor's office on this, and we're seeing some of those things. Like I said, you've had an elimination of Sunday at locations, changing service hours at all the locations, maybe rolling location closures, until we get the budget made final there. And I don't know when we're going to actually see that, obviously, because this is just a different situation for everyone right now. Do we need to make any decisions on any of that? And we don't really need to worry about closing hours and things until we're opening again, obviously.
correct. This is all the proposal that the mayor is making to city council. City council will consider this, and they will adopt the budget and endorse the budget, and then it goes back to the mayor to be signed. This document in front of you right now that I'm sharing with you, this was what they asked us, the city council asked us to provide an impact statement for what the mayor presented to them. And so these are the numbers, and then this was the impact statement I gave them to let them know that if these reductions go into effect, these are the possible impacts that our board will have to consider based on these numbers. Does that make sense?
yeah.
It does to me, yeah.
So let me ask a different, similar question to what Bill's asking. I know I try to let my councilwoman know in very general terms what's going on at the library from my board position. When is the time for me to personally reach out to her and say, I have some concerns about the budget cuts?
Right now.
Now, okay,
So this is on a fast track because there was supposed to be a public hearing today or a meeting today. They'll be having meetings next week. So the concerns to let them know about the impacts are now, because they released these impacts on Monday. It was formally put forward. And it's timely that we're having this discussion so that you know what is going to happen and what the consequences are for what we have to do.
Well, I'm very happy, and it is my belief system that cutting libraries is a serious problem. So I will move forward with letting Kim know that she should think twice.
Okay, right, and so I'm not going to get into the political conversation with this. This is we're all having to make tough decisions, but everyone should look at the budget and see where the cuts are made.
Right.
Let me just add, and Chris, I'm with you on, I think it is a serious situation. I asked Scott whether we should start lobbying. I said, it's a tricky one from my perspective. And I think I have no problem with anybody contacting the city council members. And I think we should real quickly figure out whether we've got everybody covered on that respect even. But I do think it's important that we at least discuss what our message is going to be on that.
I agree.
We don't want to go in there looking either entitled or oblivious. And I
agree.
Think both of those,
I agree, Bill.
It's an
Same
issue
here, Bill.
Okay, thank you, David and Chris. So I think just whatever we say, I think everyone has to preface a little bit with, we recognize this is a very difficult time in so many ways, but from the budget perspective, the city is working without really knowing how much this is going to impact, how quickly it can recover, and to some extent, we're grateful that they're doing their best to all the essential services running and keeping the library in that. But that we do have some very specific concerns about things that are hard to recover from. And I think that the labor side of it is probably the least, from my perspective, and this is open to discussion, of course. My perspective is that the labor side, from the vacant positions, maybe the hardest one to get them to go with, other than maybe giving us enough funding that we can keep at least some of the Sunday hours, maybe avoiding the Thursday night closure, even if it means moving to some later openings. And that the books are one that they're going to see that if we get behind on that, we're really cutting out, you know, our sort of a core mission that people expect the library to have things. And if we are on them, we can't meet that. But, you know, I mean, the city's going to be cutting labor. There's obviously nothing we can do about the 2%. So anyway, I think we need to be careful about that and think about it. Other thoughts on that one?
Well, do you want us to agree on some points?
We probably should. That, I think, Janet, that's a good idea. And I'm, you know, my first point would be just that we understand that where the city is a little bit on it. Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay. You know, the city's predicament sort of on that. And that we recognize that it's, you know, we're trying to work with very cloudy crystal balls all around. This is not something that anyone really knows where we are. You know, the future is a bit hazy right now.
And your point about being grateful for all the things they're doing, I think, is an excellent one.
Okay, so we'll put down, you know, show gratitude in some way there with that, you know, for what they are doing. And then the concerns.
Right.
You know, that number one, and I think that we've got a number of city council members who will be very aware of this, that with the schools closed now, getting ready to go into summer, obviously this budget takes effect July 1, right, Scott?
Right.
Yes.
So as we, you know, with the schools having been closed, that the libraries really are serving a pretty important role, particularly in communities such as Broad Rock, which, you know, first one that springs to mind, because it's had the Sunday hours. It's also one that has probably a higher percentage than some libraries of parents who are still going out of the home to work, even though the kids are at home. And the libraries are probably more critical there than in say, than Belmont or West End maybe right now, or North Side even. So I think, you know, the concerns about that, the shortened hours, you know, the impact that has, particularly on the youth.
Right.
And I think the second one is on the collections. You know, that the lack of being able to keep that up is an issue. Am I missing? I mean, those are the two big concerns that I see. Am I missing something there? I probably am, so please.
Well, another important thing to keep in mind is in the last recession, when we came out, many people were using our libraries for their Wi-Fi.
Right, I was thinking that.
For searching for employment. I mean, we have skyrocketing unemployment right now, and we're going to be one of the resources that people are going to rely on, because the VEC often, Virginia Employment Commission, closes at 5 o'clock, and we're open later at night for people to come and if they're not using our computers, they're using our Wi-Fi or they're using our printers. That's what happened last time. I know things are changing, but I anticipate that we will have that greater demand. And with this budget, we won't be able to provide that.
Okay, and let me ask, is it fair to say that, so I'm just jotting that down as resources from a sort of a social services employment perspective.
Correct.
And I think you're right, Wi-Fi, the printing, but to me, one of the other big things that I believe is happening, tell me if I'm wrong, Scott, but that we're also doing a fair amount with our librarians advising and guiding to resources, to proofing things, to coaching, et cetera.
Right, they're using our tools. I mean, we have AARP people down here helping job seekers daily. And if people can't get that help, and they're helping also during when the economy was great and we had pretty much full employment, they were still working with job seekers, because the job seekers that were still in the pool are the most difficult to get a job, because they often have low literacy skills.
Right.
They need all of that extra assistance that they can't get elsewhere. So they're some of the most challenging to work with, and we're challenged to work with them, but we have been meeting that need. You know, and the other thing is, when we come out of this, people are going to want to come together back in the community, and we are that third space for them to reconvene.
Yeah.
This won't allow us to do what we've been doing, that's for sure.
Okay.
This is Clay. I was just going to follow up on what Scott said. Since I was with RPL when we were coming out of the Great Recession, if you will, that with everything that occurred in 2008, and as Scott mentioned, the two impacts that we saw, you know, pretty much instantaneously, was the high demand for job seekers, people applying for jobs, and we had to talk to staff a lot about customer service skills, because, you know, we were dealing with people that were on edge.
Sure.
And you know, certainly that will be heightened this time around, depending upon how things fall out. But the job seeking assistance, and we saw an instantaneous increase in our circulation. As soon as, of course, at that time we were open, we didn't have any closures for any reason, so it's a different circumstance than this. But it was fascinating to see how quickly that bump in circulation happened after people took a big hit in their finances.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clay. Okay, so my list right now is that we start out by understand the city's predicament. We recognize the future is hazy. We express gratitude for what they're doing. Then we move into the concerns.
Right.
So shortened hours, the impact particularly on youth, although it impacts a lot of others too.
Yeah.
Two, the impact on our collections. When I say collections, obviously I mean the physical collections, not you know, money collections there. I mean, okay.
You're right.
The third is how we are as a resource from a social services employment perspective. And I do think that the librarians are actually more important than the Wi-Fi and some of the other resources that we have there. Those are there, and those are going to be there. I mean, I don't think anyone's talking about cutting off the Wi-Fi or reducing some of those, but the librarians are the ones that guide them. They're the ones that connect them to other people in the community, can help a lot. So I think we talk about that. And then I think finally we close with something where we sort of ask them to feel free to come back to us with any questions. That each one of us is sort of a good liaison between the district and the library and the council, so that we can do that and thank them. Does that sound
Right.
framework?
Well done.
I agree.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
In your list, did you mention support and coordination with RPS?
You know, I didn't specifically. We can. I think that's a fine one to do.
Well, I think that's really come to the forefront because everybody's closed, how much they need libraries.
Right. I was sort of tying that in with the shortened hours and the impact on youth, but I think putting RPS in there is probably a good point there. Now, the one thing we have to be aware of, from my perspective on this, is that we don't want to get in a turf battle where people are saying, oh, well, we're doing this instead of the schools or in addition to the schools.
Right. We don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right. And we also don't want on the social services side to rob there or to be taking on something that isn't ours. I mean, we've been really doing quite a bit in the social services side, but we've been doing that sort of as an adjunct. And Scott, we haven't lost our funding for the person who's doing that coordination either, have we?
I'm sorry, you broke up there a little bit. I didn't get all of it.
On the social services coordinator, the one who's
right. So we have a social worker that is a partnership with the Daily Planet and Homeward.
Right.
Homeward. No, the other, it's the other homeless services in Richmond. I'm
Okay.
blanking on the
okay.
name, but yeah, we have
Daily
a partnership
Planet.
with it.
Daily Planet?
The Daily Planet is the organization that hired Rex, and so that social worker is in the space, and he is providing resources to those in crisis. So, I
Okay,
mean,
you
that's the
brought-
big message that we do that I think sometimes people don't get because we're an urban library. We serve we serve this community. We serve everyone from crisis to thriving.
Right, right.
And so that's a key point that, you know, those who are thriving, they're doing okay, but they still use the library. And those who are in crisis, they're needing us even more in these times. So
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I thought. So we're not losing that, but I do think we can talk about the RPS connection, and I think that's important. And I think the feeding program, the books with that, there's a good example of it. You know, some of the things that happen there, as well as just all of the support and the homework support at Broadrock and others, just all those many things that are being done. So Janet, I think you're right on with that. Let me real quickly run through. Okay, I'm in the 1st district, and I'm happy to contract Andreas. David, where are you? You're in
Chris Hilbert, son. I got a good relationship with him.
Okay. And Emily?
I'm in the 5th. So Stephanie Lynch.
Okay. And Chris, you said Kim Gray?
Yeah.
Okay. Daisy?
Kim is also my council person. I'm happy to defer to Chris since I will be coming off the board in June.
And
So Chris, you can take it away.
Okay.
I'm there for you, Daisy. Yeah.
Okay, Janet, where are you?
I'm 4th, Kristen Larson.
Okay, good, good. So we've covered, we have 5 covered, and I've got to look at my list to see who the 4 we don't have covered are. And then maybe we can divvy those up. Does that make sense?
Sure. I like that plan.
Sure, good idea.
Okay, so I'll send something out after this,
Can I
just
ask if
reminding.
there's-
Oh, go ahead. Let me ask this, before on those
Yes.
remaining 4.
Sorry.
Right now we've got Andreas Addison, we got Chris Hilbert,
Can I-
Lynch, Kim Gray, and Kristen Larson, all covered.
Did I hear Robinson, Ellen Robinson?
Okay, and that's Daisy?
Right. Is someone in the 6th with Ellen Robinson?
Doesn't sound like it, Daisy, so I've just put her down next to you if you don't mind.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Thank you. Who else do we have out there? Who can think of all our council members without looking them up? Okay, who's got Reva,
Did you know
for example?
Cynthia
We can't
Newville?
forget Reva.
I don't know that we have anybody in which district is she in?
8th.
The 8th?
We
Newville?
don't, but anybody feels comfortable calling her? No?
Who is
Okay.
that? Newville?
No, I'm just going through. So we've got 6 of our council members now, and the ones we have remaining are Reva Trammell and who else? I should be able to do this off the top of my
Okay,
head.
I've got a list of them right here, Bill.
Thank
I've
you,
got
David.
Jones, Michael
Andreas
Jones.
Addison,
Michael
Kim
Jones.
Gray, Chris Hilbert, Kristen Larson, Stephanie Lynch, Ellen Robertson, Cynthia Newbill,
Newbill.
Reva Trammell, and Mike Jones.
Okay, so Newbill and Jones are the 2 that, wait a minute. Yeah, okay. So anybody know any of the 3 of them well or comfortable calling them?
I can do Cynthia.
Are we
Newbill.
gonna call or do
This is
email?
Daisy, that would be great. If you can do Cynthia Newbill, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And David, how about, would you like to volunteer to take Jones?
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, I can do that, no problem.
Thank you.
I can do
Okay.
Reva.
Okay, that is fantastic, Janet. We'll put you down with Reva also. Okay, so we've got everybody, we've got all 9 council members covered, okay? And it sounds like either a quick phone call, if you can't reach them on the phone, you can't reach that person on the phone, I would suggest then at least an email or something, follow up after messages, whatever, because they are gonna be making decisions quickly, Scott, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any more on that? I know we've taken a lot of time on it, but it is a pretty critical thing.
Yeah.
This is Ruth.
Hey, Ruth.
And can I ask that when for notes, and we can have our members contact our council
Yeah.
people if they like. And,
That's wonderful, Ruth.
Right. Well, I think that it'd be great to have members do that. We want them to do it in a gentle, appreciative way. Well, we don't want it to look like a full-fledged,
No full court press.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. But yeah, we'll do that. We'll send that out.
I'm
to you,
sorry,
okay?
what did Ruth say?
Ruth, do you want to repeat that?
Well, certainly we would appreciate any of the points, written points that you have laid out here. But the friends can send.
Okay, you broke up a little bit at my end, but so maybe I'll just try this. I don't know if it's doing that for others or it's my internet connection. But Janet, basically, Ruth would like these
or anything.
So she can get her members to go out and do a little bit of general persuasion.
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay. Good. I'm going to suggest we move along facilities. Scott, anything we need to talk about in facilities?
I actually had a couple items for Scott, Bill.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Scott, we're talking about how we're going to handle it when we come back to work, that sort of thing. But I'm thinking right now, is there any more we can be doing for especially the disadvantaged patrons? I should know this, but not having children, I don't. Is the city school system doing the distance learning, remote learning?
Yes,
So
lots.
a lot of these kids do not have access to Wi-Fi. Is there anything we can do at the branches as far as boosting the signal, or if they wanted to come to the parking lot and access the Wi-Fi or anything like that, or is the Wi-Fi shut down? What can we look at from that angle to keep them connected?
So David, our Wi-Fi is still up and going, and people are still using it. They're sitting outside in their cars and using it that way and accessing things that way. The schools have developed a pretty strong strategy to address this digital divide for their students. I don't know if you saw this, but they are providing laptops and hotspots to all of their students. They began that last Friday. So I believe
that's great news.
I believe the 9th through 11th graders received those, and they're providing those. So every student in Richmond Public Schools will have a laptop and a hotspot. So they are, it is one of the most, it's pretty impressive what they've been able to do. And that should roll out within the next week or two. So they will be connected. So now, once they're connected, what they're looking for is resources, because that's what they have to shift their whole paradigm to providing electronic resources where they have been kind of a physical resource. And so they're going to have to operate in that environment now more than ever. So the one thing that the schools are doing is they're pointing to us for their electronic resources. So if you visit the RPS schooling at home page, you'll see that we are listed right up at the top in terms of like getting to electronic resources. So they're leaning on us for their digital books and things like that. So I'm hopeful that gives us even more opportunity in the future to provide more content. So but for us to provide content, we have to have the resources. So
all right, my second item that I wanted to mention, and I'll let you go, Bill, sorry.
No.
Congratulations on 800 new card holders or requests for library cards. I've heard comments from mothers mainly in my neighborhood, walking the neighborhood with their kids. Content, they're having trouble finding good content for their kids online. This is an awesome opportunity for us to remind people with their cards, they get a free membership to Hoopla.
Yeah.
And Hoopla allows you on their main page to screen or filter to children's protected level. So we would do well, I think, to make that front page news for folks. Here's your new card. Here's your Hoopla link to get there, and you can filter this down to your children's level.
Scott, that might be, it's funny, David, Scott and I have talked about this a little bit. They're trying to make sure that people are aware of the electronic availability, because as we've ramped up the, taking off some of the limits, and we've made more available and so on. And Scott, your answer to me has been really that it seems to be being pretty well communicated in the RPL updates, and also that you have your librarians doing this through their next door neighborhood connections and things.
Right. So I hope
how do
you've
y'all
been
think? Do we need to look any other way to publicize beyond what we're doing? Or is that info out there?
So the things that we're doing is we now have a weekly newsletter, and that goes out every week. We are
Okay.
having our library community services manager making sure that they are communicating on their local channels. So Nextdoor and Facebook and all of the social media platforms are really communicating all of these messages across those channels. So Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Nextdoor.
So when somebody
all of those,
goes to our, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just, go
When
ahead.
somebody comes, I'm going to a library site now. So if I go there and I can apply online, Richmond Public Library, if I go online, is part of their orientation making them aware of that? Is there any sort of welcome, you're a new card holder? Hang on, I'm bringing it up now. Public Library. Sorry, I typed in school, shame on me. All right, I'm on our front page. Where do you go from there to sign up for your card? Is it easy to find?
It should be under ebooks. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Okay.
Because if somebody's a new card holder, it's good to tag them with that info right off the bat.
Well, right now, there's got to be a new electronic card, David, because
Well, that, yeah, I realized that. He said he had 800 new ones, so I figured.
Right. No, so those people are already thinking of it from the electronic side. They're not thinking of it as just going into the library and getting a book.
Okay. All right.
But they will.
It's under books and media.
Okay.
And if you
Thank you,
scroll right down, you're going to see Hoopla, you're going to see RB Digital, you're going to see Overdrive. You can see all kinds of children's activities.
So if you look at the front page, I think I'm sharing my screen with you all. You'll see how we have the message at the top that says what's going on right now. We're open 24/7.
Right.
All of our buildings kind of a status. And as you scroll down, here are our sliders. So entertainment now. So we have our most prominent stuff, the things that we want to get people's attention right at the top. So these are a lot of the new things that we've added. This is kind of our messaging as to what's happening with the coronavirus. Here's our RPL Presents. So this is at that RPL Presents, we have children's librarians who are doing story times, virtual story times, where they're reading and putting those up twice a week. We also have people doing crafts online through this, and adult, seniors, and youth crafts. Then here's your library card. So check us out for free. So if you click on this, it takes you to the library card.
Good.
And there's our online resources, as you've just
scroll up to the Hoopla if you would.
Nope. Yeah,
now I'm looking, the description I have is downloadable e-audio, ebooks, movies, TV, comics, and music. Could we add a line that says children's filtered content available?
I don't have a lot of control over this application. Like what you're looking at right now, that's provided to us by the vendor.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think we just need to leave that. I think you're getting the message across, and maybe what we need to do, David, sort of highlighting that some of the people in his community there may not be aware of that filtering. Maybe just ask the librarians to sort of include that. Maybe even put something in the next RPL weekly update, something like that, as well as the Facebook and Twitter and so on.
Okay.
Does that work, David?
Yeah, that sounds great. The Bellevue, where I live, 1,200 homes, we got a newsletter coming out, and we have some space available. I'll see if Ginter Park couldn't cobble up something or somebody, and I'll have it put in the newsletter. Gratis.
Chris?
Yeah.
Chris, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, I think the outreach has been really good, but the spots that we've missed, as David said, that's something we can do a specific targeted intervention for.
I think that's right. Very good. Okay, David, did you have other stuff before we jump into Scott telling us anything he needs to about facilities?
No, I'm done with that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Scott, do you want to talk about facilities at all? Is there anything updating there?
I'm going to let Cheryl update you on what's going on here at Maine, and then I'll give you what I know about the CIP and where we're at on the RFP for the master plan.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, Cheryl.
I'm really excited about what's going on here at Maine. We've been moving. We've been keeping the ball moving and having people move things around and construction wise. So it's been really great. The restrooms, we're at substantial completion. They are gorgeous. They are so nice. No wall, no, we do have walls, no doors. So it's just gorgeous. We're just waiting to complete a couple of little items there, here and there, and then that will be completed. And then we're also moving along with, this is the time where DPW is stepping up and utilizing this time and our parking lot to get a lot of things done. We're replacing light bulbs and lighting and upgrading valves on our HVAC units, and so that has been pretty good for us. We're moving along. We're painting. We painted the columns. I don't know if you guys have seen that on the first floor at Maine, and actually we put letters on there indicating which section belongs to who: teens, nonfiction, fiction. So it really looks like we're in the 21st century down there. It's wonderful. You guys have to come in and see that. But and for our branches, we're just upgrading lighting, fixing minor things that need to be fixed, that unfortunately with some branches being open on Sundays and extended hours, our guys couldn't get in there. So now we're really taking advantage of the buildings being closed. But I'm excited about the restrooms, the lactation room, and all that other good stuff. They're gorgeous.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be much more welcoming to families and much more safer for everyone, especially here at Maine.
Yes.
So very good.
And they're really able to get in and deep clean and do a lot of the fixes that they need to do. So that's been a happy accident of this crisis. So
okay, take advantage of it. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, we're utilizing the time.
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The RFP for master planning is still stuck in procurement and legal with the city. So the third time as the charm is still making its way through. I'm hoping that we can get some movement here. I just checked on it yesterday and I haven't heard back.
Okay.
It's like
I will tell you
Groundhog
that the CIP has taken quite a hit this year in the city's budget too. So the city has rolled back a lot of the construction that they were going to do. I will, but they have not touched the funding that we have for planning. So if we can get it procured, we've got the resources to do it. And it would be really helpful if we can get that done, because there's a lot of talk of a COVID-19, like another stimulus similar to what they did in 2008 and 2009. If you recall, there was a stimulus package that came out for shovel-ready projects. So the city is trying to find all of their shovel-ready projects. So if that funding becomes available, they can throw that in. So we will do our best to try and include that. I would love to have a shovel-ready project for them, but if the city can at least get funding from some of that stimulus money, it could go into the big pot and probably take care of some construction that they have that might free up money for our project.
That's right. Get some of the streets done and things. Okay.
Again, that's a 12 or 8. That might be like a 6 to 12 month window. So that's what we've been meeting about that and discussing that and trying to prepare a strategy should those funds become available that we can chase them. But the key thing is we've got to get the RFP done. We've got to get a design in place.
And there's nothing we can do to move that RFP faster. I mean, that's just, it's out there. You're putting the pressure on right now. It's even harder than usual. So,
yep.
I mean, if there's anything you need any of us to do, let us know. But I don't know of something now. I don't think trying to pressure on what purchasing's doing or what legal's doing is something that we need to do with council at this stage.
No, the higher priority is the budget.
Yeah, okay.
I had a question for Laura.
David, go ahead.
Laura, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Question, is legal fully staffed, or are people just laid off or furloughed, or are you full functioning?
Are you asking if the city attorney's office is furloughed?
Not furloughed. In other words, are you 100%
David,
like
I'm
you were before
sitting here right
the
now.
COVID situation? Are you 100% like you were before the COVID situation?
We are all telecommuting.
Okay, so the
I don't think
RFP
there's
issue is-
anybody. I don't think there's anybody at the city that's been furloughed at all. But
Okay.
that might be coming. You don't know.
Right. So in other words, it's not legal that you're understaffed, that it's holding up the RFP. That's not one of the issues COVID related. That was my point.
Yeah, I have no idea where your procurement is. I can check with the procurement lawyers.
It's procurement. I mean, procurement's trying to move it through, but it's just wrapped up around other things. And then this crisis has pulled a lot of the resources away from them because they're having to deal with, all the different weird procurement that's going on right now. When you get into an emergent EOC kind of operation, then it's a whole different set of rules they have to follow and execute. So we still have the EOC activated in the library. I mean, they have an activation in the basement, so it's set up for the EOC. They moved to a virtual EOC a couple weeks into the crisis. And if they need it, they can reactivate it quickly, but it's still set up in the basement. This has been a weird EOC crisis because usually in an EOC, they're dealing with a hurricane or a blizzard or something like that. So they're directing resources to solve a problem. And this problem right now is the problem is the people. So there's no resources to direct. So that's how we've been able to keep public works and public utilities running pretty smoothly. It's just, we have to protect those workers who are in place.
Sure. And just a quick thing.
I have to run.
Okay, go ahead.
So
Okay, see you, Ruth.
if there's
Thank
any
you.
further discussion and you need help if you need our help with the budget issue, just please send me a note and we'll get it around.
We will.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Ruth. Okay. One thing, do we want to talk before we let everyone go? I think with David, we've got governance, but before we let you go to governance, Scott, delivery. Do we need to talk about that, or is that still in the nascent phases there?
So that's a little bit of a part of what it's going to look like when we reopen.
Okay.
We are still working through that. We don't know all of the services yet, and we're still discussing that as like a leadership team. I can share with you an article that I received yesterday. It's written by a librarian in Idaho or Wyoming, and he kind of details like all the steps for based on kind of federal guidelines is what I think as to how libraries will unroll their services. So I'll distribute that after the meeting. I have a PDF and it's very thorough, and it really talks about all the implications and considerations that we need to do when we open up. But I will say that we have a really good staff team. Cheryl has been working with Diane Wilmore at North Avenue to investigate and find some protocols for how we can put those in place. And our leadership team has been discussing it. So she's already gone ahead and started to order, gloves are back ordered, masks are back ordered, but she's been really combing everywhere to try and find those and put those on order. So we're hoping that by the time we open, we have at least some provisions in place that we can start to operate and safely operate. So
okay. And Scott, the one thing I was asking about that maybe a little bit separate from the rolling out, as we start to reopen, was the discussion you and I had about maybe delivering the items that are on the hold list.
Right. So one of the discussions we've had is we have all these holds and we'd love to deliver them to people. We'd love to get them into people's hands, but we're not quite sure how to do that. There's been like contact lists, book pickup, and that may be something that we can roll out once we kind of have people back in place and the curve, the paradigm, the curve is going down. Yep. Another thing that we are looking at is delivery of books to people. So there's a there's a vendor called Quickness RVA, and they are a bicycle delivery service, and they deliver by car. So we could contract with them, and they would be a third party who could deliver holds and books to people. We have a lot of people get used to having their food delivered, like Uber Eats or Chop Chop. So that could be a service that we could roll out and provide holds. We'd have to get permission from the user, from the patron, to distribute it by a third party. But that would be one way that we could have contact lists and we could deliver the books to somebody. But the challenge is, how do we get them back? And the discussion has been, how long does this virus live on these different materials? How do we clear the book drop? How do we take those items back? And at this time, we're not real clear. I think we're going to get there. We're going to figure out how to handle these books, and we'll be able to do that. But so we could send them all out. We'd send a wave out, but then how do we get them back to send them to the next person? We just can't send them all out and just say, okay, keep them. But so we're trying to work through those details.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
Scott,
Yep.
is curbside service part of the discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share that article with you, and it kind of talks about how that can be deployed. Chesterfield has been running it, but I don't know that it's been, they say it's working. I'm just concerned that we're supposed to stay at home right now. And if you do services like that, you're encouraging people to go out.
Yeah.
I'm also concerned about our staff trying to operate something like that, because they'll have to interface with each other, and we still don't know where we're at in terms of this virus. And we don't have those protocol. I can't provide people masks right now. I don't have the cleaning supplies to do those things. And I think at this point, for us, I don't know. I don't think we can do that. Chesterfield is a whole different ballgame, because if you look at that county, they're pretty much socially, or they're physically distanced just naturally. Our community is an urban setting, and we're right on top of each other. So they can set up like a big curbside service like that. But we are looking at that, and that would probably be something that we implement when the stay-at-home order goes away, and we're able to have, like, it goes like stay at home, then it goes to limited to 10 people in a space, then it goes to 50 people, then it goes to wide open. So those are the phases that we would have to work through. And I think when we would get to that 10-person stage, that might be where we could roll out the curbside service.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the delivery is a way to go too, because that would be like a way for us to send it right to them. We would have to absorb that charge, but I could see us in the future going to that as an added service.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like, you have 5 books on hold. You don't have time to get there. It'd be like getting a pizza delivered to your house. You'd have to be there. The window would be maybe between 9 to 1, but somebody would show up and drop your books off to you, and you'd be ready to go.
Nice.
Okay.
So
Good. Okay. Let's real quickly, David, on governance. Anything you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I talked with the person at boards and commissions. Would think everything's shut down. She doesn't even have access to the documents, to the applications, nothing. So everything's on hold right now.
Part of
The
that
possibility of extending the terms by the number of months that we're off.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things they're going to discuss, but right now everything's on hold, so we have nowhere to go.
Okay. So when we get to our May online meeting and then future meetings following that, until something happens with Allison Meisler and her group, I think we are going to operate, Laura, you might need to close your ears. We're going to operate on the assumption that terms are extended. Okay, so David.
And there's precedent for that, Bill. We had a previous board member where we couldn't fill the slot, and she served until December.
Yeah.
We filled the slot, and it was done.
Right,
And
that's
Laura, you
right.
remember that.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, good. We can do that. Thank you. So Daisy, you don't get to leave quite yet, okay?
I hear you. I got it.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I know you and David may have been looking forward to that, but it'll be there eventually. And then,
It's all good.
That's right. Okay, any new business that we haven't touched on? We're running a little late. I'm showing 101, so. No?
Stay healthy, all of you library people.
Absolutely. And the next meeting is planned for May 27th as an electronic meeting. And I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be an electronic meeting, but we'll sort of hope that maybe the the June meeting, in next June in Maine or something type of idea, right? So we'll hope to be back
Yay.
together. Okay. I don't need to take any votes or anything to close because we haven't. Just electronics format's a little different on that, right?
That's correct. You can just adjourn the meeting.
We can just adjourn. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.